This workshop aligns with African Union's Agenda 2063, particularly its aspiration to promote inclusive growth, social justice, and good governance across the continent. Our collective efforts to implement the ACHPR resolutions contribute directly to realizing these continental ambitions and fostering societies where justice and human rights are at the core of public service. I urge each one of us to embrace these opportunities for dialogue and collaboration that this workshop affords. Let us aspire to draft actionable commitments and strategies that can reflect not only compliance, but a genuine transformation of our correction systems into models of rehabilitation and human dignity. Ladies and gentlemen, the journey ahead demands courage, innovation, and resilience. It calls for the political will of governments, the expertise of technocrats, and engagement of the civil society as we can see it here today. Together, we can turn the tide towards correction services that protect rights, promote rehabilitation, and enhance public confidence in our justice system. Allow me to emphasize that the implementation of HCHPR resolution on prisons and conditions of detention is not merely a bureaucratic obligation. It is a profound affirmation of our values as Africans, values that honor humanity, compassion, and justice. I wish to commend the Wahlberg Institute and the State Department for Correctional Services for the coordination of this very important gathering, made possible by the valuable and timely financial assistance from the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency. ACHPR resolutions serve as a clarion call for all member states and correction services to undertake urgent and sustained reforms that must be holistic, inclusive, and reflective of international standards. In Kenya, we used to have a vice president several years ago who did very great work to improve on the treatment of the inmate. The Vice President Mudi Awori and his team then, they made some good strides. We saw some very comfortable buses which were carrying inmates from one place to the other, from prison to hospital, from their facilities to high courts. And they look to be very cozy. They seem to be enjoying themselves. At the moment, we must also strive to ensure we improve from some of these legacies which we have from those who used to occupy these offices which we are occupying at the moment. These reforms are not only about infrastructure upgrades, they must importantly address legal safeguards, protection from all sorts of ill treatment, access to justice, and the mental and physical well-being of all prisoners. The ACHRPR resolutions provide a critical framework that challenges us to reflect deeply on the state of our correction facilities and to act decisively to transform them into places of rehabilitation, respect, and humane treatment. The end of corrections. Corrections facilities in Africa have for long been characterized by overcrowding, inadequate infrastructure, poor sanitation, insufficient access to health care, and limited opportunities for rehabilitation. I had an opportunity for several times to fly over some of our Kenyans' prisons, facilities, Rangata, Naivasha, and several others. And from the top, you can see the size of our prison facilities. It's quite small in terms of the facilities which are there. And you can imagine probably we have quite a number of inmates. So indeed, these are some of the challenges which I'm sure are facing most of the African countries, Kenya included. And we should strive to ensure, as governments, as those who are in charge, that there is improvement of these facilities, of treatment of those who are sick, of taking good care of those who are old, because we have inmates who are very aged in quite a number of prisons across Africa. And one of the things which we studied very deeply is the Africa Human and People's Rights as a student then, several years ago. And is one of the very well-written law, very well anchored. And if all African nations can be able to domesticate the Africa Human and People's Rights, it can go a long way in ensuring that we abide by, we respect the rights of every person. Because I remember in that piece of law, it's also recognizing the right of children to take care of their parent when they are old. No? How many have looked at that piece of law under the African Union? Which is not the case in other Western countries. We know at the moment in our country, we are facing a bit of, and when I say our country, I say Kenya, and not only Kenya, in most of government in Africa, we are facing financial constraint, budget constraint, because the needs of the people vis-a-vis what we are able to collect as revenue is not enough. Africa countries want to run from loans from, I don't want to mention names, because when I mention names, it may bring some problems. But it's true. We want to reduce loans as much as possible. So whatever we have, it may not be enough for our health sector, our own sector, water sector, security sector, and many other areas which demand some of these resources. So when we get partners who come to support some of these functions, some of such kind of gathering here today, we truly appreciate their contribution. And that's why I was insisting that we need to give a round of applause to the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency for supporting this, facilitating this function. We really thank you, and we are grateful, and we want you to do more, not only on prisons, but also in other sectors. Here in Kenya, in Uganda, in Tanzania and other African nations.
We as Kenyans here have learned a lot from other jurisdictions. Particularly in Africa, we have learned a lot from Morocco. These jurisdictions have radically been honest about introspection on the living conditions of their inmates. And the impact is that Kenya now is on track to implement legal and policy reforms, digitalization of our correctional services, as well as modernization of our facilities. Distinguished Commissioner, the story of corrections in Africa is not one of despair. It is one of resilience and possibilities. This workshop, therefore, is a call to leadership. For the next 3 days, your hands will be full deliberating on critical issues ranging from parole or parallelization, reducing overcrowding, strengthening professional capacity, to embedding international standards like the Mandela, Bangkok, Havana Rules, and other declarations into national practice. As General Colin Powell wisely said, and I quote, "Leadership is solving problems. The day soldiers stop bringing you their problems is the day you have stopped leading them." Let us take this to heart as we engage in productive dialogue and forge solutions that advance correctional services across Africa. However, dialogue is not enough. What Africa needs now is action, bold, unrelenting, and relentless. The African Correctional Service Association provides us a vital platform for collective action rooted in the spirit of SALS. Through AXA, we are able to share good practices, harmonize standards, and foster professional solidarity, elements urgently needed to strengthen our correctional systems. Concerted collaboration will enable us to replicate solutions from one part of Africa and scale them across the continent, promoting innovation, resilience, and sustainable reform within our shared contexts. By working together as partners, we reinforce our commitment to advancing humane, effective, and evidence-based correctional services for all African nations. In Swahili, we say, "Umoja ni nguvu." Translated, that means unity is strength. Together we do more. Together we go further. Together we go faster. Dear colleagues, we must also reimagine the very purpose of corrections. Correctional facilities must not only contain, they must transform. They must prepare individuals for reintegration, strengthen families, and contribute to social fabric of our nations. This requires more than policy. It requires change of mindset. It requires change of heart. Too often, corrections are seen as a burden to national budgets. But in truth, corrections is an investment for safer societies. Every life rehabilitated reduces crime. Every individual reintegrated strengthens a community. Every act of dignity within our institutions affirms the values of justice and humanity. Let us resolve to move from overcrowding to opportunity, from containment to reformation, from punishment to restoration. As Nelson Mandela said, what counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made in the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life that we lead. Let us inspire our commitment to correctional reforms that offer hope and second chances. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya is honored to host this forum, and we reaffirm our commitment to walking this path alongside you.